I read an article recently on the Wall Street Journal online about how a lot of us are forgetting stuff more and more. And my first thought was, phew, I'm not the only one. And the reasons behind it were the challenges behind the pandemic affecting our brain power. Sleep not being as good as it used to be, and the energy it's just taken us to juggle all the extra mental loads. So I thought, hey, I think it'll be a good idea to talk about ways to retrain our memory. So here are 7 ways, that's right, 7, to give your memory that needed boost. The first one being chunking. And we do this a lot when we're trying to recall or remember number sequences. So if we're talking about, our cell phones, our credit cards, our bank information, we would chunk or group the numbers into a sequence somewhat like this. 3 numbers, 2, and then 2. Or if it's credit card, 44444. So if you're trying to remember a phone number, you would group the first 3 numbers, 555, the next 2 numbers, 80, and then the last 2 numbers, 20. And that's how you would remember that. The next one would be imagery, number 2. And this is very, very useful for remembering things like your shopping list. So you would paint a really colorful and somewhat silly image in your mind. So say you had to remember apples, milk, broccoli, and tissues. So those 4 items. So I would imagine the apples jumping into a freezing tub of milk, giggling, and then the broccoli rolling around in soft tissues. It's hard to forget silly imagery like that, right? The third would be mnemonic devices, and I've been using this ever since I learned it as a child. So these are codes that use letters to help us remember large bits of information. The most common examples are for the colors of a rainbow, for instance. That would be Roy G. Biv, so the 7 colors of a rainbow. So red, orange, yellow, so that's Roy. G is for green. Biv is blue, indigo, and violet. The other very common mnemonic device is for remembering the order of the planets in the solar system. So since Pluto has been kicked out as a planet, we now have my very eager mother just served us noodles. So that would be Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And before, that was 9 papayas when Pluto was still part of the system. Next would be association and organization. Very, very helpful for remembering where things are located. So you would remember, okay, right before I step out of the house, what do I need to bring with me? So we have a container right by our front door containing our face masks, a cabinet or a shelf dedicated to packages that arrive, and other things we need before we go out, like insect repellent, some first aid keys, and sunblock. This could also mean you have a docking station, so you remember where you left your tech stuff that's still being charged. So you know where to pick them up. Okay, this one is also something very good and effective for me. Number 5 is saying stuff aloud. So I'm going to water the plants after lunch, or I'm going to pay for my online shopping after dinner. And I've noticed that I anchor a lot of my to-dos after I have a meal. And I guess I'm more energized to remember stuff after I've eaten. And if you want to add a little something more, you can work it into a silly little song. Like when I was teaching my young child at the time how to be organized with her stuff, I worked it into a little song called Pick It Up and Pack It In. So we would sing, pick it up and pack it in. Now pick it up and pack it in. And it's very good to see her repeating it. And though, it's very useful for children, we can benefit from this technique as well as adults. Number 6 is write stuff down. When we run our sessions at SilverTrain, we always emphasize it's more effective to physically write it down with your hand when you're learning something new. When you make notes, your brain makes that extra effort to translate what you're learning onto a physical piece of paper versus just the passive version of typing it out on your phone or on whatever electronic device you have at hand. Okay, and the final one, and maybe the most important one, is figure out your learning style. So there are basically four that you can remember with another mnemonic device called VARK. That's visual, auditory, read, write, and K stands for kinesthetic. So some people are more auditory, like me. We need to hear the information to be able to learn it. Others, like my partner, are more visual and really learn it by writing it out. Some have to do it through movement and touching. So this is kinesthetic. So knowing how you learn best will be a great way to make sure that you know which technique to use whenever possible so that you can retain this information and hopefully be able to access it when you need it. Thanks for watching. Keep growing with SilverTrain.